Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Moopsie. I am your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen we have...
is boop on the nose. Pause to touch it.
Boop. And Clyde will be joining us in just a few minutes. He is just stuck in the pattern buffer, but I know he will be joining us very soon.
That's not a euphemism for the bathroom. He's just putting it like it sounds really bad when you say it like that.
Trapped in the pattern buffer.
That's right.
But he will be joining us in just a few moments. Tonight we are talking about our favorite moments from Star Trek Lower Decks seasons 3 and 4 as we prepare for the final season premiere
next week, everyone. Boop on the nose.
Boops a moopsie. First, a couple of things. If you're just joining us in this Lower Decks journey, welcome. We appreciate you. You can subscribe and make sure you hit auto download. That's super helpful on Apple, Spotify. You can also find us here on YouTube, where we're going live when we are all on the same time schedule, but we post that on our social medias. Thank you, Karen, for helping out with that. All links to find us and to share the show are at StarTrekPod.co. And hey, leave us a review and tell us your favorite Star Trek Lower Decks moment in the comment for the review. We'd love to know. It also helps people find the show. Paul, how else can people support our little endeavors here?
Well, if you like or love or hate our content, but you are so wealthy, you have so much latinum that you're willing to throw it away, like 1 billion bars of gold plus latinum, consider joining our Patreon for just $2 per episode. I mean, $2 per episode at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod.
Indeed, you can hang out with other Trek fans. They are doing watch-alongs. They're hanging out and chatting about the news. It's a great place to find like-minded crew. So head on over to patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. And if you are watching us tonight live, please participate in the chat. Tell us what your favorite moments are from seasons 3 and 4. We want to hear them. We'll also share some of our messages from the menagerie, which is from our Slack channel. So you can hang out with us and tell us all of those things. And I think we're getting a transmission. It's a Clyde Haynes.
Hello.
Look at you, Clyde Haynes, everyone. Clyde Haynes.
Clyde, now that you're here, you can tell people how they can comment in the chat.
Well, I always recommend writing a letter. Make sure you have a stamp and then pop it in your own mailbox to Starbase 80. And
we'll get Starbase 80.
No, seriously, type capital P, capital O, capital T, capital Pod in the chat, and we'll take a look at your thought, your musings, your questions, your queries, your inquiries, your thought-provoking philosophies. And in that special moment when we
don't have hot freaks tonight.
We have cold freaks.
I guess we could call them cold freaks. Yeah.
CF, type CF in the chat. That's gonna throw us off. Type HF anyway.
All right.
And
we have a hot Paul.
We're gonna have a hot.
Paul is hot.
Very hot Paul. Okay, let's get into some messages from the menagerie about these 2 seasons. But Clyde, since you weren't here, was there anything from season 2 you wanted to make sure you mentioned that we didn't cover?
No, not that. I mean, I listened to the pod. You guys kind of crushed it. So
crushed it all. All right. Cool. All right. Messages from the Menage. From Karen, of course, way too many to list, but I'll say I love the scenes between Ma'ak and Mariner and the inner fight. I would put those up against any scenes in the entire franchise. I hope we see him again in season 5. Really, the last 2 episodes of the season are as good as any movies, in my opinion. Kuhn says, Kuhn, also, I hope you're doing okay. We know you've had a lot going on in your personal life. We won't get into it because this is a public podcast, but just know that our thoughts are with you, and I hope you're doing okay.
Kuhn.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Kuhn says, my favorite moment from season 3 is Boimler losing it at the recruitment table as he defends Starfleet, but they topped themselves in season 4 by making it feel like T'Lyn was part of the gang all along. I also appreciated the Mariner backstory about her PTSD over Sito's death and her time in the Dominion War. I can't help but think of Mariner now whenever I watch Deep Space Nine. I know, it's so fun the way that they've weaved all these characters in. I enjoy it. Okay, time for us to dig in. I'm just going to play a video because it's fun. So I'll just pick a random one.
Videos.
Cold Freight.
Just a little cold freak. So we'll start with season 3, breaking down some of our favorite moments. Feel free to chime in the chat with some of yours if you're joining us this evening. Who wants to kick us off?
I will go first.
Great.
With Kuhn, I was very fond of Boimler losing it at the table, and my favorite line is Boimler going to the game people and goes, "Stop trapping people in games." It was just so random and out of nowhere. I was like, that's hilarious.
And then I guess I should check. So I picked 5 moments from 3 and 5 moments from 4. Did you all also do that?
I did that.
Okay, great.
I picked 5 moments from 3 and I think a couple moments from 4.
Okay, great.
But I will say this. I did not realize how much I didn't remember, I should say, how much I enjoyed season 3.
Yeah, there was so much, right?
Like season 3 is an amazing season, but I was ranking my stuff as far as like moments, and I found that season 4 moments generally were higher on the list. You know,
I would maybe agree with that, but
I would agree with
so
that.
Much.
But as far as the season, 3 is. Mwah.
Three, it was really good. So the whole, you talk about the moments, like that episode, kind of that entire episode, Paul was really good, and it was so layered and detailed. One of the things that stuck out to me was the collectors. And so in that moment, we saw the collector with the gold thing around. And I was like, oh, we're going to see you again, or someone from your tribe again. There was, there's Bad Rutherford and kind of that whole thing. That was a really good episode. It's really one of my favorite episodes.
Reflections, yep.
And I like the way they did the reflection. And I just thought to myself, if my children watched this, they would uncontrollably laugh every time someone said butt bugs. Like they would just lose it.
Conspiracy theorists.
The butt bugs.
How about you, Myrriah? What do you got?
I had reflections on my list as well. I also, the first one I put down was the least dangerous game. You have Mariner trying to do the good thing with like, it's where they have to fix the platform. And Ransom is like, we're going to fix it, Mariner. We're not going to go do diplomacy. We're going to send Rutherford down to do that. And then he accidentally doesn't show enough midriff or too much midriff at different points. And almost gets sacrificed to a baby and a volcano. I just really enjoyed that episode. And also Mariner jumping off of the platform and then having to run all the way back up whenever she realizes she should just be doing the right thing. And the D&D game with General Martok, like the tabletop game that they're playing, is also fun. And then Boimler being hunted.
Yes, those are all great. I had that on my list as well. There are 2 moments that I would say stick out that you glossed over, like specific moments. It's not just Mariner jumping off and then having to climb back up and being so exhausted. It's her falling asleep during the second jump, and the parachute waking her up. It just made me laugh. And then the dolphins yelling or squeaky, "Don't jump in here with your dirty shoes." Just
that's great. That's great.
Yeah, that's a great episode all the way up and down. What did y'all have? My next one was reflections with the Rutherford backstory, but what did y'all have next?
My next one is like the sequel, especially how they kept on going chronogamy, chromogasmic, blah blah. Like it's all that, like chroma for time and gami for the Japanese art of folding paper, and and they just kept on like jumping on top of it over and over again. Like, because it's just such a ridiculous sounding thing, and they just keep on adding more ridiculousness to it. I thought that was like a good comic movie, and the episode itself. This is where Boimler finds out that Thomas Boimler dies, but he's now Section 31. It's good.
It's good. I mean, do you think we'll get? I was like, I guess not, but maybe with time travel, we could get. It would be so funny and iconic, like even just cameo if Jack Quaid shows up in the Section 31 movie as his.
Oh yeah, sure, love it. As Thomas.
As Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think that would be really funny. I would enjoy that a lot. What about you, Clyde?
There's so many. Let's see. I got a bunch from this season. So okay, I got to go with this one. I think it's from episode 3. When we see Leah Brahms, this is where the green
the
orbs,
mines,
the fantasy mines.
Mm-hmm.
Just the introduction of Leah Brahms was just such felt like a deep cut, and I just wrote.
This is your fantasy.
I wrote it. I wrote in my notes irrational boyhood crush. Like I've had some boyhood crushes.
Like are you thinking someone who is smart and beautiful as like, oh, I irrationally have a crush on you? That's incorrect.
I looked at this and I was like, so for her to show up was just, I was like, I mean, this felt like a deep cut. It's like that track on the album that you feel like you and only 7 other people listen to, and when you hear it like played somewhere, you're like, oh man, you get it. That this felt like a deep cut to me. So Leah Brahms.
Yeah, Leah Brahms
is one of mine.
Leah Brahms. Okay, my next one is just the whole trip to DS9.
I knew it. I knew when from the very moment that I rewatched and they started circling DS9, I was like, I'm not gonna bring this up because Myrriah's gonna bring it up, and we'll just talk about it when Myrriah talks about it.
I mean, it was so fun. Everything from even like the B story of like of Captain Freeman trying to do the negotiations, and like we get the Kira appearance. We get so much of Mariner's like backstory, and it's just like chock full of references and Easter eggs, and it is like such a smart way, I think, to weave the shows together. And I hope it encouraged more people to revisit Deep Space Nine, and so I think that is like another part of why I really enjoyed the episode.
For me, like
Dabo.
Dabo, that's right. Boy, I'm the Dabo genius, but like I don't want to say it this way because it makes me sound weird. Not weird,
I'm probably with you, so say it anyway.
It's like Tendi was really hot in this episode. Like Tendi with her like ninja Orion pirate skills, like I was like, oh, like, yeah, the
cosplays that you would see based on this would be enjoyable.
That's right. Like I'm a big fan of Tendi. Tendi's my favorite.
No, I don't think it's this episode. There's another episode where Rutherford is casually having a conversation with Tendi in a bathrobe.
There's a lot of Tendi in a towel, by the way, on rewatch as well.
and I was like, it's things that I didn't notice the first time through, and I was thinking to myself, nerds. Nerds. I was like, why is like Rutherford's just casually having a conversation with Tendi in the middle of the room in a towel? Like, nerds.
Yeah, no, they're friends.
They're friends.
Because I have conversations with my friends in towels all the time. Makes sense.
Yeah, well,
I've got to mention this one because this one was sentimental. I would say it was from episode 1, the very first one from this season, the Ketracel hot sauce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love this with at Cisco's, mainly because this was when we got the box
with the hot sauce,
with the goodie and the hot sauce, and I love the hot sauce actually, but it was just like, oh, I felt special. And so when I saw the Ketracel hot sauce, I was like, oh, that reminds me of that time that Paramount made me feel special.
That time when Paramount still cared about their shows. And sent out packages.
Yes, and us. Yes. Like I may not have been there to see Tawny Newsome, but I got some hot sauce. So
have you ever been to Star Trek Day, Clyde?
I have not. That's okay. I got to
have you ever been to Star Trek Day?
I got a picture with Captain Freeman, so I'm all good.
Yeah. I was thinking about I don't know if y'all watch the show After Midnight that's also on CBS. You can watch it next day on Paramount Plus, but it's a fun like comedy panel show. But this past week they had Tawny and Jerry O'Connell and Rutherford. Who's the actor who plays Rutherford?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. That guy.
It's gonna drive me crazy. Eugene? No.
No, I think he's the name I can never remember.
It is. Oh my God, gonna drive me crazy.
Eugene Cordero. Thanks.
Yeah, I was like, thank you, Eugene.
When you said Eugene, I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm just never gonna get.
I know, but then I doubted it as soon as it came out of my mouth. Okay. Anyway, they were all on After Midnight on Monday night, and it's a fun episode, and it's really silly. And Rebecca Romaine makes a surprise appearance as well, so it's just like a full Star Trek promo episode. If you haven't watched the show, it's a good one to jump in on. And there's a really nerdy moment with Tawny Newsome that I won't spoil if you want to go watch it, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool.
Okay. Paul, did you give yours?
I did. I'll go to my next one.
Yeah, do it.
It's when what do you call it? Mariner gets kicked off the ship, and the guys from Starbase 80 are giving her the uniform, and it goes, and the sandwich drops out. I go, oh, there's my sandwich. I told you I didn't eat it. I was like, it's just so. It's like a different style of humor. Like, it's kind of like Parks and Rec, the what you call it, the animal control people at Parks and Rec. Like, whoa, hey, you're here. It was just like, it's just like pot humor, right? In a way that is, and it was just so remarkably out of tone and perfect at the same time. Oh, there, told you I didn't eat it.
Clyde, what was your next one?
So many. I'm looking at my list here because, of course, I actually did more than 5. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one, and it was just, I don't know. It's the romantic in me. Like, it was a little bit of a romantic comedy, but I will go with Mariner phasered all of Jennifer's friends at the salon.
But to be fair, her friends
and then they
suck.
phasered themselves. Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, oh no, we have to do it too.
This is a bad look. And so they held each other. It was like a selfie and just bing.
That was good. My next one was the Texas class showdown. I just think the whole, like, it's just chock full of like so many silly references. I'm sure, like, Clyde and I remember we chuckled a lot at all the different California and Texas references across that series and episodes. But yeah.
Well, but like that was mine too. Like, my number one moment in the section in 3 is like when the California classes come to the rescue. Like, oh, it's the Culver City, it's the Sacramento, it's the Santa Barbara, it's the Modesto, blah blah blah. It just kept and like, on one hand, it's hilarious. On the other hand, I'm like tearing at like, at like the underdog
look at California doing
like,
it
to fight the bully AI. Texas, it was just I was like, oh, this is so good. And I watched it this time. Like, I remember the first time watching it, like, oh, this is I'm feeling verklempt. And then like this time I was watching it, I go like, oh my God, here it is again.
I feel it for all our little friends in the Cali class.
I'm just still a little, in my feelings that there was no,
Van Nuys.
I mean, there was no North Hollywood. Like, I really thought there was going to be like a North Hollywood, maybe a Sherman Oaks. No Burbank. I think there may have been a Glendale, but like maybe not. Like, can I get Pasadena? I just
You're feeling you needed some more Valley love.
I need some more Valley love. Like, we watched Trek in the Valley. Just saying. As an aside, there's a shirt out there that says this, like, Black in the Valley, and I think it's like Black people do live in the Valley. I kind of want one of those shirts. So
I'll keep an eye out. Okay, I think I know what our number 1 is though of season 3, right?
Well, I know you're booyah.
Peanut hamper time.
Listen, I went back and watched this in its full. There was moments where I thought about fast forwarding, and I definitely wanted to fast forward the whole Birdman peanut hamper love scene.
Oh, I watched all of it.
Like, she watched it in slow mo with candles.
No.
I watched it at half speed.
with the intentional candle in the background, go like, oh.
A little jazz music, just to
I
really
think my
set
favorite
the scene.
part of that episode is when the guy is like, "Oh, you make me want to sing," and he goes,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh, okay."
Oh, great.
You know what? Kind of in this post-COVID world that we live in, I think this would be the perfect episode to watch with friends. I think this is an episode that would be funnier in a group than it is watching it by yourself.
It is one of those, if they did a day, if they had a Lower Decks day where there was screenings and panels, I'm like, this is the thing. If you put it up on screen, we'd all go really wild about.
I think
At least I would.
It's just so ridiculous.
They redo the opening credits. It's the commitment to the bit is so, and I think that's why I enjoy it the most, is it is a true commitment to the bit.
Totally.
It is. It's just, I think the thing that shocks me a little bit is I'm like, you get 10 episodes and you did a
whole one.
Full episode to this bit, to the peanut hamper bit. Like, you really did it. It was astonishing.
It was, it was great. It was beautiful. Sky snakes.
Okay.
Why would you call them sky snakes if everything here has wings?
I will say that might be my favorite line of this episode. Not it's, and I think this has a bit to do with Heather Donahue, is the way she delivered it. Right. It was so perfect deadpan. It was the question before that where you go, does everything on this planet have wings? Well, if everything on this planet have wings, why would you call them sky snakes and not just call them snakes? How do you not laugh at that? The way she delivered it was perfect timing.
It was great. Yeah, I rewatched it actually right before this because it was the one I've been kind of saving for the last piece to rewatch, because I just remember it was so, I think, very divisive when it first came out. And I was just like, I'm glad. I stand by my review. I remember loving it then and I still love it now. Okay. Are we all ready to talk about some season 4, or do you have anything else you want to mention about season 3?
Best season. What if you want to start it's a really good season. Now almost a lot of things on this next list of 4 are, I believe, objectively funnier than season 3, but I think 3 as a season is just so strong.
It's really strong. Takako points out that the California class does include Burbank and Sherman Oaks.
Great. So they just skip over North Hollywood like we don't matter. No, that's kidding. No, that's cool. Thanks, Takako.
Yes, and but there are Black people in the Valley.
Yes. I would have loved a New York class, hello US, the SS Harlem, Upper West Side.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll find. I was like, it's interesting. Yeah, the way they've picked that there's a Texas class and a California class. I wonder what else will show up in our next season. All right, season 4. I'll just do another video for the fun of it.
Rah rah rapid Riker.
A little boing for
that. Quaid's gonna ultimately be my favorite Quaid.
He's a pretty good Quaid, I have to admit.
Pretty good Quaid.
He
shows up in a lot of stuff, just a ton of stuff right now.
He's everywhere. Okay, my first moment is I think it's mostly going to just be surprising that it's this part of my list is the entire Voyager episode.
Boy, shocked. Baby. Boy.
What a shocker. What a shocker. I mean, just the displays and like all of the references and like it goes so deep and like the
Deep
newt
cuts.
lizard, the deep cuts are deep cuts. And it's just like it's a good character development episode as well, is the other thing. Is like, and I think that's part of what has been so fun on the rewatch is like you catch more of the references, but then you're also, I think, able to appreciate the rollout of the character development over the seasons of like how Mariner and Boimler have to learn to trust each other and like they learn what they can do best and letting each other go to grow. And I think it's a great episode for that.
Yeah, I think watching the season 4, I remember season 4, we're going like, oh, is Mariner just going off the rails again? Isn't that a little like retread? But watching it, like binging it versus like week after week, you're like, oh, it's actually much better written than I gave it credit for. Like the arc is much more nuanced than that, and I just missed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
My favorite is the season finale, where they're in the nebula and they have the Wrath of Khan music just going off. Like it's just such a ripoff of Wrath of Khan in every blatant way, and it's like beautiful.
It's great. Yeah, I had the season finale as my honorable mention for season 4 because yeah, it is it is so perfect in its references, both visually, like in the music, in so many ways, and it's a really fun Mariner episode.
Yeah, like I said, there are two here that I wanted to call out. This was one of them. I think when you say it's just so perfect, I mean, I think it's a great episode.
The
and
finale.
It's one of those the finale, and I think it's one of those episodes where I look back and I go, man, I'm glad it's not the last episode.
But it could have been a really great last episode if it needed to be.
Yeah, but not having
Tendi leaving.
Yeah, with not seeing any episodes in season 5. This is an episode that made me not want season 5 to be the last season.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was like, wow, you guys are really hitting your stride. Like, just let's keep this going.
Love it.
Agreed. My next pick was the Tendi going home for the wedding episode, and just like all of the tropes that they played with of the lore of the Orions, and just like how badass Tendi is as a character overall. The showdown with her sister was really fun. I just, the parents are just so hysterical and stupid and great. Yeah, it's a solid rewatch up. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Like the episode's also on my thing, but my favorite part about that episode is Mariner getting repeatedly stabbed.
Oh my god.
Because this is where, like, for all of it, Mariner is like
the Boimler of the episode.
Yeah, like she's a background character. Like, it's Tendi's episode.
Yeah.
And you're just like going like, it just keeps like getting stabbed. Oh, I'm okay. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, this was my favorite episode, and I think part of it was not just because it was Tendi, but really, I think we're fascinated by the Orions because we know for up until really Lower Decks, we've known very little about them. And I think that's one of the beauties of Lower Decks is Lower Decks in particular has been able to explore the Orion kind of culture like no other Star Trek series has. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, it's this opportunity to see into a new species, or not a new species, but deep dive into a species that we haven't had time for. It's kind of like, us learning about the Gorn on Strange New Worlds. Mm-hmm. So what the Gorn is for S&W, the Orions are for Lower Decks. And then to see Tendi and to see this dichotomy. So watching that one after I watched kind of the Orion episode from season 3, where you've got the poser Orion, starts to paint this fuller picture of Orion culture. And now knowing that we've already seen this clip from season 5, where that we're going to go in more, I'm like, yes, like, yeah. And it feels like it's far more appropriate than the half naked dancing girls from Enterprise. So
Whoa.
just saying.
Whoa.
There's room for all Orions here.
Whoa.
But-
I'm going to say this, Clyde, and I'm going to say it like with all due respect. Orions are not a monolith.
I'm aware. I cannot remember the Discovery Orion.
We've got Osira, because Kim says
yes.
Erica is a better Orion crime boss than Osira.
You're absolutely correct.
Oh, that's like, I don't know. Osira is pretty darn good.
I mean, pretty large enterprise that was there before Discovery came along.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, but Osira was ready to turn everything over for a shot at just being her being okay. Right?
Which does sound very...
It's not a pirate move.
That's not true.
I mean, it kind of is. It's like individualism over the crew.
Yeah, but she was like, look, I'll go straight and I'll turn everybody else in. That's not a pirate move.
But she's not going to really go straight.
I mean, I don't know. She looked pretty fraud to me. I'm just saying.
I don't know, Clyde. I think you gotta stop. I think you gotta stop it. Like it's fighting words. Like I am pro Orion woman. all sorts.
I'm with you.
All sorts. I'm not gonna shame the pheromone enhanced. I'm not gonna shame, the super arch villainy. They are
the swordsmiths of them all.
That's right.
Okay, my next one is the Betazoid party, the Rachel Drash, Chanel James, Wendy Malick. Plus, that episode was such a great Talin episode. I just loved her like trying not to call again on the iPad so much, like on the pad. Like every time she was like, no, like it was such a fun detail for her. And then when it's not connected, she keeps trying over and over again. And then, just the chaos of the Betazoid party was a good time.
I mean, how do you not like a Betazoid episode? Like,
you got to have some chaos.
You got to have some chaos.
Yeah. My what you call it? My next one is the Badgie episode and I actually wasn't the biggest fan of the Badgie part. I didn't like the way that Badgie arced out into like the koala. But that's irrelevant. But like when you first Badgie's introduced, or like when they're fighting the the Cerritos, and he goes, boop on the nose, boop on the nose, boop, and then everyone goes like, we can't take any more boops or we're gonna fall. And go like, my friends are gonna be booped to death. It was just so hilarious how they just kept that bit. And I was like,
yeah, I mean, it's also a peanut hamper episode.
Yeah, which in that episode, I think as much as it's less peanut hamper than it is Artemis, right?
Yeah.
But like I go like, oh, here's how I'm going to fool them. Boop, and he turns blue, and
look how neutral I look.
And then Boy goes, well, that blue is quite soothing. And then all of a sudden he turns back red and goes, he could do that.
He could do that. Yeah, it's a good episode. It's solid. What's your next one, Clyde?
Well, those are my top two. So those are my top two. So we're on your guys' list. I mean, I'm with you on all of these.
My number one is Moopsie.
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 Did that turn into the merchandising like?
I don't think there was enough. I've seen like a lot of fan made stuff, but I think there's been a true lack of Moopsie merch, which is very disappointing. But oh my gosh, I have no bones and yet I must flee. It is like, it's also a good, just like general character episode, because it's also the one where Boimler keeps trying to find like Goldilocksing through the rooms.
For me, it's in that episode, Boimler going blind by the nacelles.
Oh my
so
god,
it's
so
it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And then when he finally ends up, and like Rutherford's trying to level up to get his pip, and then he's like, oh, I could just do any of the times I've saved the Cerritos. Like I've just turned it down because I wanted to hang out with you guys. And then he's just like, hey Billups, can I have my promotion now? And he's like, oh yeah. After he has all of this tete-a-tete with like that other guy in engineering the whole time, Livich. Oh my God. And then he walks into the nacelle room and he's like, oh, I can fix that. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
So good.
That was a great bit, actually.
Yeah.
Like the Rutherford looking for
it was
rooms.
pee in your pants bit. Yeah.
But Boimler, oh my God. And then being in the room that's between the two holodecks, and in one you have Shax and Tahana doing a weird like Robin Hood fantasy situation. And then the next room is Captain Freeman practicing her speech for becoming president of the Federation. It's great.
But my favorite episode of 4 though is Caves.
Oh, Caves.
And this is like this really hits the Star Trek of me, where I go like, oh yeah, this episode is for me. Because if you're not a Star Trek fan, you wouldn't get this.
Yeah.
You go like, I don't understand.
This one's for the nerds.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't understand why this is good. Like it's just for people. I mean, the what you call it, the little flashbacks are fine, but like, why is it so good? Because it's so entrenched with the it's not even lore, it's the culture of Star Trek.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, this is home.
Home.
And to call out home in a way where you're like, because to really appreciate, you really have to like have seen and been immersed in all this other Star Trek to go like, oh, it's not just this episode. They're referencing all these feelings from all these other episodes. How many times have you seen this person in the cave or this other person in the cave? And the reason is, it's just cheap to shoot in a cave.
Yep.
Like it's fine.
You don't got to worry about the sun going down.
Yeah, that's right. It's totally fine. And you're like,
less lighting.
And all the caves look like the same stupid dumb rocks. Like you're like,
can we just move the rocks this way?
But
I mean, it's like everybody's shooting over at what is it? The Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's I mean, it works. It's close by. It's easy to get to.
And so for this, I was like, oh, I like, and maybe I'm mistaken, but like it really felt like the person who created this episode really loves Star Trek. Like Mike McMahon and all those people, it put all their love for the show in order to basically satire the show.
Yeah.
Like in a way, you can't satire something without truly understanding it. And
to me, it's also like when you watch to me, the best like comedy roasts are from people who know the other person like so well 100%. That they're able to make the jokes that seem searing to other people, but in reality are just like talking about the
letters of love.
Letters of love. Yeah.
That's right.
One of my favorite books is Ready Player One. And one of the reasons I really enjoy it is not only is it a really fascinating story and it's sci-fi and you've got all this stuff, but the amount of nostalgia, like throwbacks, is just amazing. And it conjures up all these things. It says, hey, you're not someone who wrote this from the standpoint of like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to put in. Especially Ready Player 2 is a little bit different, but Ready Player 1, it felt like you were a fan of the 80s and 90s. It's like you were a fan of John Hughes movies and you're getting like these references mean something to you. When I watch Lower Decks, more so than any other series, it does feel like, Paul, to your point, it's the show written by Star Trek nerds. Right? Like deep cut Star Trek nerds. It doesn't feel like you went out and researched a bunch of stuff. It feels like an inside joke from somebody you know. And they're making these reference and these jokes of things that you've thought about, right? To your point, Myrriah, why are all these episodes in caves? And you hear the voice of Mariner, right? Or, and Paul, you said this earlier, like, stop trapping people in games, right? Or stop switching bodies. Like when I think in episode, the first episode, or maybe one of the episodes in 3, where Captain Freeman put on the mask, right? this happens in Trek all the time, and this is a group of people who's actually laughing about stuff that we find funny and ridiculous too, but you love it, so you don't mention it. So when someone kind of satirically pokes fun at it, you're like, yeah, that is kind of dumb. And so this feels like family, I guess is the best way for me to put it. It's like it feels like
Olive
family.
Garden of Star Trek.
That's right. There you go. Like,
full of never-ending pasta bowls.
All you can eat. Never-ending nostalgia.
Never-ending nostalgia bowls. Yeah, I'm like so excited for 5 and also sad that it's going to be the last season. I have full confidence in the team behind it, though, to really land the plane. Land the ship.
Shuttle. There you go.
Land the shuttlecraft.
They're better.
And I'm just excited. It also excites me that it's gonna, I think, give room for Tawny to work on, the show that she's working on in the Star Trek universe, because I really enjoy her as because she is such a fan and a nerd. Like watching, I know I already plugged it, but even just like every time I've ever seen Tawny on something that has a part where she has to plug stuff about and talk about Star Trek, it's like she is also so much of a fan as we are. And so it's so lovely to have someone who's like the lead of the show who is such a super fan of the show as well. And I think it's part of what's made it really special.
Totes.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And her and Quaid, dream team. Put them all the time. Put them on the screen. I enjoy it. Well, that's it, y'all. So next week we're going to hopefully pre-tape. Unfortunately, I'm sure as everyone has seen in the news, there's been a lot of media layoffs, which has included all of the contacts I've had at Paramount. So we are waiting to make sure we can actually watch the premiere in time to have it out too early. But if unfortunately that doesn't happen, we will let y'all know. But I'm trying my best so that we can have it ready for y'all on Thursday. You'll have our hot freaks. You will have our opinions and our thoughts and our review. We are working on it, but we will keep you posted on the social medias. But from next week on, we will be covering all the lower decks every week, talking about what's going on. You can subscribe and rate the show, rate and review on Apple and on Spotify. Make sure you've hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can visit StarTrekPod.co to find links to whatever podcast subscription service you enjoy, as well as to our Patreon. Thank you, Karen, for helping run our Twitter. I forgot again to post on Instagram. I will get better at that. I'm working on it, y'all. Anything else y'all wanted to mention? Anything to plug? All right, y'all. We appreciate your time, and we will see you all next week for season 5. I'm excited. Whoop whoop.
Bye, everyone.
Lower decks.
Lower decks. Lower decks.
Lower decks. Lower decks.